If you're getting close to turning 65 or thinking about retirement and you're wondering how to get Medicare right the first time, then this video is for you. Hey, I'm Brian Godfrey, and I help people every day make smart, informed choices about Medicare. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I help people transition to Medicare step by step, just like we would if we're on a call together. So the first thing we have to do is make sure you have a strong foundation on Medicare basics. So let's break it down in simple terms. Okay, so here we are in the book called Choosing a Medigap Policy. It's a guide to health insurance for people with Medicare. So this comes from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So it's the official government guide on how to get on to Medicare, essentially. So I'm only going to use a few pages here, but I like to use this because it clearly labels the different parts of Medicare. So bear with me if you're a Medicare pro, but most folks are just getting on it, and that's who this is for, right? Is people who are 65 or older. That's who's just getting on it. Certain people who are under 65 with disabilities, and people of any age with end-stage renal disease. So here's the parts of Medicare. Part A is hospital. Think of it like this. It's the building and the bed. It's the four walls. It's the room and board. Okay, so it's when you're in the hospital, there's a little skilled nursing facility, but think of it as room and board. Part B is medical insurance. So that's everything else that's not in the room and board. Okay, so that's doctors that come into the hospital room that you're in, or if you see doctors on an outpatient basis, it's all your equipment like walkers and wheelchairs and so forth, preventative services, and the like. Part C is missing, but it's on the next page. They now call that Medicare Advantage, but Medicare Advantage is really just Part C. Part D is your drug coverage, D for drugs. That's easy to remember. And so the first choice you have to make is whether or not you want to go with original Medicare, or do you want to go with Medicare Advantage on the other side. And you can't have both, and you shouldn't have both, because it's kind of like if you have work coverage through your employer, well, you don't often need to get a supplement because it might duplicate the coverage. And why would you pay for the same kind of coverage over here and as the same as you have over here? It doesn't make sense. So that's why we're really going down two separate paths here. All right. So on the left side, we have original Medicare, and on the other side, we have Medicare Advantage. So on the left side, you have to have Medicare A and B, but you'll notice it's this true on the other side as well. So let's just cover that right away. Either option, you still have to pay for Part B. So you have Part A, which is hospital, and that part is free if you worked for 10 years in the country, you or a spouse. Part B is the part that you have to pay for. And for most folks this year, it's $185. And that creeps up year after year, typically. So on the left side, then, you can add in a Part D for drugs, and you can add in a supplemental plan. They also call these Medigap. So when you hear Medicare Supplement or Medigap, they're the same kind of policy. All right, so why would you need to get a Medigap? Because it pays for the gaps in things that Medicare leaves on you, right? So there's gaps. Medicare pays some, but they don't pay at all. So people will add in these supplements. On the other side, oh, let me back up. So on the left side, you can go anywhere you want that Medicare is accepted. So that means anywhere in the country. There's no network, right? Now, there might be some doctors that don't accept Medicare at all. They're just cash and whatnot. You can't go there unless that doctor joins Medicare. But you can basically go wherever you want in the country. There are no copays. I say no copays, and I used to say that for a number of years until they came out with these two fancy plans that have a little small copay. I don't recommend people get those anyway, typically, but for the most part, you have no copays. and you have no referral. So you can go to see the specialist that you want, and it kind of gives you more control. Same thing for Part D. It's not covered by regular original Medicare. So you have to pick up something to do that as well. So on the Advantage side, also known as Part C, you still have to have A and B, as we said, but most plans are going to roll in your drugs and some extra benefits, like a little bit of dental, maybe a little vision, into your Medicare Advantage plan. So before we get into the details of the Medicare supplements, I want to show you the main thing about these supplements when we look at them, and that is all Medigap policies are standardized. That means policies with the same letter offer the same basic benefits no matter where you live or which insurance company you buy the policy from. So there's 10 different kinds of Medigap plans. They have a letter. That's how you know it's a Medigap plan, because somebody thought it would be fun, I guess, to have Medicare A, B, C, and D. And there's also Medicare E. But then to have the Medigap policies with letters as well, A, B, C, D, and so on. So totally confusing, right? But here we're talking about the Medigap plans and how they're all the same in every state and across every company. So that means when I pull up this long list in a few minutes to show you the comparison, how that works, by law, they're all identical, except for the price. And of course, if you live in Massachusetts, Minnesota, or Wisconsin, then they are still standardized in those 3 states, but just in a slightly different way. So in other words, you can get the same coverage from a whole list of companies, and they're all going to work the same exact way. Okay, so here is a list of Plan G supplemental plans. And I'll show you what Plan G does in just a moment, so you understand what these prices represent. But on the left-hand side, you see a monthly premium. 108.24 is the lowest one. And if I scroll to the bottom, 525.80 is the highest one. So somebody out there could be paying 526 a month, and somebody else could be paying 108 for the same exact coverage. Now, I am licensed in many states. I am not licensed in every state because I partner with other agents and brokers like myself across the country. And I'm part of a larger fish, right? A larger agency that's part of a much larger agency. So we have this incredible network of people, and it's a great organization. So I'm in Maryland, but if you're in, in this case, I picked 38021, which happens to be Crockett Mills, Tennessee. I just got tired of using my own state. I thought, let me run some other numbers. You see, all of these are exactly the same. So if you're in a state that I'm not currently licensed with, I'll either grab that non-resident license, or I'll just partner with someone who's just awesome in your state, especially even if you want an in-person appointment. You don't like all this computer nonsense, that's fine. Let me know, and we will find you the right person. I'll kind of interview them first just to make sure that their core values are in line. But there's so many people at this company that are great believers and great people. I'm not worried about that part. So you have all of these choices here, and what I put in is a 38021. I called this person Joe Blow for our example, and I said, hey, let's make him a 65-year-old male, non-tobacco. Now, this is interesting because, okay, let me explain. I'm acting like Joe is turning 65, which means that he has his enrollment window, this initial enrollment period of 7 months. So it's the month of your birthday, the month you turn 65, right? Plus 3 months before and 3 months after. I don't know if I'm holding up the right fingers, but sort of like a dinosaur, but you get it, 3 and 3. So you have this 7-month window. Most people don't wait till afterwards because, why would you not want to have coverage in line as soon as Medicare starts and everything starts? So unless you just like to run late, which I don't, you're going to go before you turn 65, and you're going to run this comparison, hopefully with me. So we run this comparison, and we don't have to say tobacco or non, because everybody's treated as if you are fresh out of the gate, meaning you don't have to answer any health questions at all. Okay, so everybody gets that one-time chance. Now down the road, here's another point. All of these prices that you start with, every single company, I don't care which one it is, you are going to have price increases because gas goes up, bread goes up, milk goes up, right? Everything goes up over time. So no matter what company you're with, you're going to experience that. So somewhere down the line, if you keep yourself in good shape, okay, then down the road, you may have the opportunity to switch to a different supplement plan or a different company, pardon me, a different company with the same exact coverage. So that would be kind of down the road. But at that time, and what I'm saying is, let's say you start at 123 and then down the road, that price creeps up where now you have a whole bunch of other ones that are lower cost for the same coverage. What allows you to make that switch at the time is that you can say no to all the health questions and that you don't have to, because they're going to look at your prescription list. They're going to look at your health situation, ask a whole mess of questions. So we don't have to do any of those questions in the beginning. We don't even ask your height and weight, none of it. Okay, so you just pick the plan, you put your payment method in there, and off you go. It all starts on the same day. But down the road, that's why they have this tobacco, non-tobacco, because that will make a difference down the road if you try to make a switch. Okay, so I did switch over to a zip code in Maryland near me because I figured I have the most experience in dealing with that state. So why not show you the difference of prices? Number one, it does depend on where you live. You can see here's 157. A moment ago in Tennessee, it was 108 for the lowest option, but still 157 versus 641. Some folks are paying for Plan G. What's great about working with myself is I'm a broker. That means I'm not attached to any particular company. So we have the ability to shop the world here. Now, am I going to send you to the bottom of the list? No. Why would we do that? Am I going to send you to the lowest one? Maybe not. There's a reason sometimes that they're the lowest, and it's not always a good reason, right? Maybe they're brand new to the Medicare Supplement space, that business, and they want to get new customers, so they have a lower starting rate. And then what happens is any of these companies, right, more people get on board and the company's collecting more premium, but now they're starting to pay out because people are getting sick and they have bills. So when people get older, we tend to wear out, we get sicker, so the company pays more bills and then they have to increase the price to take more in. So the name of the game is to find a strong, stable company. And not that there's anything wrong with these lower ones, but one of my go-tos here is, you see what I'm looking at is A ratings. This one's an A. This one's an A rating. And these are financial ratings. We don't have to get too technical here if you're not into it's financial strength of a company. I mean, who spends time thinking about it? But it just means that, it's like a grade on your test in grade school. If you get an A++, it's a stronger company than an A. It doesn't mean A is a bad or weak company. It just means this one's strong. Chubb is a very strong, stable, home and auto company, and they got into the Medicare space. So even though they've only been in this 3 years, they're A++ because their parent company, Chubb, is huge. So that's one of my favorites to go to because you can see it's close to the top, but they're the first one that has the A++ rating. Okay, so let's take a look at the Plan G details themselves. So what you're seeing here is, remember Part A of Medicare before that we talked about, and then we have Part B on this page, Parts A and B together, and other benefits. There's a little foreign travel emergency. This is if you're out of the country. And it has its own little deductible, but this only applies to the foreign travel emergency benefit. Most folks, that's not that big a deal, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on that. But let's take a look at Part A. So what happens is you go into the hospital. This first column is what Medicare pays. And if you didn't have Plan G in the middle, then that is how much you would pay, right? If you just had Medicare. So you go into the hospital for the first 60 days, Medicare says, hey, we'll pay everything except you have to pay almost $1,700 if you're still in the hospital for a while. Now, this typically doesn't happen that much because they get you out and you go somewhere else to recuperate. And that's when you get into skilled nursing down here. All right, we'll cover that in a second. But if you're still in the hospital through this group of days, now Medicare says, hey, you're costing us money. We need you to chip in. So $420 every day. If you're still in the hospital, now they double your copayment to $838 a day. So this is a lot of money here just for a 3-month hospital stay or 5-month hospital stay. So if you had Plan G, it's going to pay all that for you. And you can see in the right column, you pay $0. Cool. Down here in skilled, for the first 20 days in skilled, Medicare pays everything. So Plan G doesn't have to pay and neither do you. Days 21 through 100 in skilled, now there's a daily copayment, just like in the hospital. Plan G covers the copay, just like up top, so still $0. Now, if you come out of skilled nursing or go into intermediate or custodial care, Medicare does not pay for that kind of care. And neither does any supplement or advantage plan. And that's when people look at other types of extended care planning. Most people I talk to, I ask them a simple question: where would you rather be, at home or in a nursing home? And if you're listening, think about it. Where would you rather be? Rather be at home, I bet most of you are saying. And I say, well, why is that important? And then you hear, because I don't want to burden my family. I don't, that's not why I saved all my money. I don't want to give it to the nursing home. I want to stay at home as long as I can. So that's another discussion for another day. I just have to point out that's where Medicare turns off, basically. So you would have to pay all cost in that long-term care situation. All right, so that's Part A. If we look at Part B, which is medical, Medicare says, hey, for the first $257, we're not paying anything. And they just made a law a couple years back that said no supplemental plans are allowed to pay the deductible, this Part B deductible. And so that means you have to pay the first $257 under any supplemental plan. Okay, cool. After that, Medicare pays 80% and you would pay 20% of the approved amount. So if you have a $100,000 bill, you pay $20,000. But when you have a Plan G, it's paying 20% for you, so you pay $0. Excess charge is if a doctor wants to charge you one price, but Medicare says we'll pay you a different price. So let's say the doctor wants to charge you $5,000 for something, but Medicare says we'll pay you $4,000. The difference of $1,000, the doctor's allowed to charge you up to 15% of that difference. They don't always do it, but if they do, then the Plan G would cover that expense 100% for you, so you would pay $0. The blood and other lab services, these are basic benefits, meaning that they're standard across all the supplemental plans. So there's no sense in comparing because you're getting it with all of them anyway. So if you understand A and B, then that's really the meat of it. If you want me to walk you through this exact process, just comment review below and I will give you my appointment booking link. You can go ahead and book an appointment just like you watched in the video. And I really hope that you found this useful and helpful in moving you towards your journey. And I would love nothing more than to help you make sure you get it right. Thanks for listening. Take care.